The massive alien ships appeared in Earth's sky without warning. They were huge, each one the size of a small city. There were hundreds of them blocking out the stars. People all over the world looked up and felt fear in their hearts. Admiral Jinwoo stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Defender. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had served Earth's military for 30 years. Now he watched the alien fleet through the windows and knew that everything he had trained for was about to begin. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," said his communication officer. "They want to speak to all of Earth." Jinwoo nodded. "Put it on every screen on the planet." The face that appeared was not human. It had blue skin, 4 eyes, and a mouth full of sharp teeth. This was High Commander Thalos of the Valorian Empire. His voice was cold and cruel when he spoke. "People of Earth, I am Thalos. We are the Valorian Empire. We control 400 star systems. We have conquered 89 different species. Now it is your turn. You have 30 days to surrender. If you do not, we will destroy your planet and everyone on it. You cannot fight us. You cannot win. Choose wisely." The transmission ended. All over Earth, people started to panic. They had always wondered if aliens existed. Now they knew, and the aliens wanted to destroy them. President Hayren sat in the emergency council room deep under the capital city. She was only 40 years old, the youngest president Earth had ever elected. Before politics, she had been a military strategist. She had planned battles and studied wars. Now she faced the biggest war humanity had ever known. "Madam President, we have to evacuate," said one of her advisors. "We can't fight them. Look at the numbers." The numbers were bad. The Valorians had 12,000 warships. Earth had only 47 ships in its orbital defense fleet. The Valorians had billions of soldiers. Earth had only 2 million in its entire military. The Valorians had weapons that could destroy planets. Earth had missiles and railguns. "We should surrender," another advisor said. "At least some of us might survive as slaves." Hayren looked at the faces around the table. She saw fear. She saw doubt. But she also saw something else in a few faces. She saw determination. "Admiral Jinwoo, what do you think?" she asked. Jinwoo stood up. He was wearing his full uniform with all his medals. "Madam President, I think we should fight. And I think we can win." The room erupted in arguments. People called him crazy. They said he would kill everyone. They showed him the numbers again and again. Jinwoo waited for them to quiet down. Then he said, "I request permission to activate Protocol Nightfall." The room went silent. Most people there had never heard of Protocol Nightfall. It was one of Earth's deepest secrets. Hayren looked at Jinwoo for a long moment. "Explain it to them." Jinwoo walked to the display screen. He brought up classified files that made several advisors gasp when they saw the security level. "For the past 80 years, Earth has been preparing for this moment," Jinwoo said. "We knew that when we finally met aliens, they might be hostile. So we prepared. Everything we built, everything we developed, every war we fought was practice for this day." He showed them images of Earth's ships. "Our 47 vessels look small. That's intentional. Each one has the firepower of 50 Valorian ships. But their sensors can't detect that. They see what we want them to see." Dr. Taman stepped forward. He was the head of Earth's weapons research. He was a short man with thick glasses who looked more like a teacher than a warrior. "Our technology is not primitive. It's hidden. We've developed quantum weapons, zero-point energy, stealth systems that are invisible to all known scanners. The Valorians think we're weak. That's exactly what we want." "But how?" asked one advisor. "How did we develop all this without anyone knowing?" "Because we've been working with someone," Hayren said. 80 years ago, Earth made first contact. Not with conquerors, but with an ancient artificial intelligence called the Remnants. They warned us about species like the Valorians. They gave us knowledge. We used it to prepare." The room was stunned into silence. Jinwoo continued. "Every citizen of Earth goes through mandatory civic service for 2 years. Everyone thinks it's just community work, but it's actually military training. Every person on this planet knows how to fight. Every city has hidden defenses. Every factory can produce weapons. Our small army is not weak. It's efficient. The Valorians have been scanning us for weeks," Dr. Taman added. "They see our defenses. They see our weapons, but they only see what we let them see. We've been feeding false data into every system they can hack. They think they know everything about us. They know nothing." Hayren stood up. "The question is not whether we can fight. The question is whether we should. If we surrender, maybe some of us live. If we fight and lose, everyone dies. But if we fight and win, we send a message to every hostile species in the galaxy. We tell them that humanity will not bow. We tell them that Earth is not prey. She looked around the table. I need a vote. Do we surrender or do we fight? One by one, hands went up. Even the ones who had been afraid voted to fight, because they realized something. If they surrendered today, they would just be slaves waiting for death tomorrow. At least fighting gave them a chance. It's unanimous then, Hayrin said. Admiral Jinwoo, you have permission to activate Protocol Nightfall. Show the Valorians what happens when they threaten Earth. Jinwoo saluted. Yes, Madam President. They think our small army is a joke. Let's teach them why they're wrong. Up in orbit, the Valorian ships waited. They monitored every communication from Earth. They listened to the panic. They watched the small Earth fleet move into defensive positions. High Commander Thalos laughed when he saw it. They're actually going to fight, he told his officers. This will be over in minutes. Prepare to broadcast their destruction to the galaxy. Let everyone see what happens to species that defy the Valorian Empire. His officers laughed with him. They had conquered 89 species. Earth would be number 90. An easy victory. They had no idea what was coming. The countdown began. 30 days until the deadline. 30 days until the Valorians would attack. 30 days for Earth to prepare its trap. The galaxy was watching. News networks from 100 different species reported on Earth's coming destruction. Some felt pity for the humans. Others felt nothing. All of them expected the same result. But none of them knew the truth. Earth's small army was not small at all. It was a weapon sharpened over 80 years, and it was about to cut through the Valorian Empire like a knife through paper. Day 30 arrived. The deadline had come. High Commander Thalos sat in his command throne aboard the flagship Eternal Conqueror. He had decided not to wait for Earth's response. The answer didn't matter anymore. He would make an example of this world. Send Battle Group 7 to Mars, he ordered. Destroy the colony domes. Kill everyone there. Let Earth watch their people die. Then they will understand that resistance is futile. Battle Group 7 consisted of 200 warships. They moved toward Mars in a perfect formation, their weapons already charging. Mars had 50,000 human colonists living in sealed domes on the red planet's surface. In minutes, they would all be dead. Admiral Jinwoo watched the Valorian ships move. He had expected this. The Valorians wanted to demonstrate their power before attacking Earth itself. It was a common tactic among bullies. Show overwhelming force to break the enemy's spirit. But Earth's spirit would not break. All ships, Jinwoo said calmly. Execute Protocol Nightfall. Fire on my mark. On every Earthship, weapon systems came online. But these were not the primitive weapons the Valorians expected. These were quantum entanglement cannons, capable of firing shots that appeared anywhere in space through quantum tunneling. The weapons officers targeted seemingly random points in empty space. To anyone watching, it would look like Earth ships were firing wildly in panic. That was exactly the point. Mark, Jinwoo said. 47 Earth ships fired simultaneously. Blue streaks of energy shot out from their cannons and disappeared into space. They seemed to miss the Valorian fleet by thousands of kilometers. On the Valorian flagship, officers laughed. They're firing blindly. They're so scared they can't even aim. Thalos smiled cruelly. Let them waste their ammunition. It won't save them. Then something impossible happened. Inside every ship of Battle Group 7, blue energy suddenly appeared. The quantum shots emerged from nowhere, materializing directly inside the vessel's reactor cores. There was no warning, no time to react, no way to stop it. 200 Valorian warships exploded simultaneously. The light from the explosions was so bright it could be seen from Earth with the naked eye. 4.7 seconds. That's all it took to destroy an entire battle group. The galaxy was watching through long-range sensors. News networks across 100 worlds stopped their broadcasts mid-sentence. The footage replayed again and again. 200 ships, gone, instantly. On the Valorian flagship, the command center fell silent. Every officer stared at their screens in shock. This was impossible. Nothing could bypass their shields. Nothing could appear inside their ships. But it had happened. They had all seen it. Thalos felt fear for the first time in his long life. What kind of weapon was that? Before anyone could answer, more alarms sounded. Captain Yuna had been waiting for this moment. Her stealth ship, the Silent Winter, had been floating invisibly in the middle of the Valorian formation for weeks. Now she activated her payload. The Cascade EMP weapon was Dr. Tayman's masterpiece. It didn't just release an electromagnetic pulse. It used the target's own power cores against them, creating a chain reaction that spread from ship to ship like a disease. 400 Valorian ships suddenly went dark. Every system failed. Weapons, shields, engines, life support, everything stopped working. The ships drifted helplessly in space, their crews trapped inside. Now General Dong-hyun, Admiral Jin-woo ordered, from hidden launch bays on Earth's ships, thousands of combat drones emerged. They looked like metal insects, each one the size of a car. But they moved with impossible coordination, directed by human soldiers through neural links back on Earth. The drones swarmed the disabled Valorian ships. Their cutting tools sliced through hull plating like it was paper. Within minutes, they had breached every ship. More drones poured inside, clearing corridors and securing critical systems. General Dong-hyun watched through the eyes of 1,000 drones simultaneously, his neural implant processing information faster than any normal human could. Boarding operation successful. All 400 ships under our control. 0 casualties on our side. Agent Bora chose this moment to act. She had spent weeks planting override codes throughout the Valorian fleet's computer systems. Now she activated them. Hundreds of Valorian ships suddenly found their targeting systems locked. They couldn't fire their weapons. Their navigation was frozen. They were sitting ducks. High Commander Thalos screamed orders, but chaos had taken over. His fleet of 12,000 ships was now in disarray. 600 ships destroyed or captured in less than an hour, and he still didn't understand how. Retreat, he finally ordered. Fall back to the edge of the solar system. Regroup! The Valorian fleet scattered, running from an enemy they couldn't understand. The mighty empire that had conquered 89 species was fleeing from Earth's small army. Admiral Jin-woo did not pursue. This was not about destruction. This was about sending a message. He opened a communication channel to Thalos. High Commander, this is Admiral Jin-woo of Earth. You came to our world and demanded surrender. You thought we were weak because our army is small. You were wrong. Our army is not small. It is precise. It is efficient. It is deadly. Every single human on Earth is a warrior. Every weapon we have is designed to kill ships like yours. We have been preparing for this day for 80 years. Thalos stared at the human on his screen. This man looked calm, like he was discussing the weather rather than a battle. Jin-woo continued, You will leave our solar system immediately. You will send a message to your Empress. Tell her that if she wants Earth, she will have to bring her entire fleet. Tell her that we will destroy that too. Tell her that Earth is not prey. We are predators, and we have been hunting predators like you for decades. You don't understand, Thalos said, his voice shaking. The Empress will send the Imperial Armada, 8,000 of our best ships. Elite warriors, advanced technology. You can't defeat them all. Jin-woo smiled. It was not a kind smile. We know. We're counting on it. Bring your armada. Bring everything you have. We'll be waiting. The transmission ended. Thalos stared at the blank screen, his mind racing. He had 2 choices. He could retreat to Valorian space and admit defeat, which would mean execution for his failure. Or he could call for reinforcements and try to crush Earth with overwhelming numbers. Pride made the decision for him. He sent an emergency message to Empress Kalena, ruler of the Valorian Empire. He told her that Earth possessed unknown weapons of terrible power. He requested the full Imperial Armada. On Earth, President Hae-rin watched the battle results with Dr. Tai-min and General Dong-hyun. They'll come back with everything, she said. We've shown them we're dangerous. Now they'll want to eliminate us completely. That's what we want, Dr. Tai-min said, adjusting his glasses. We revealed just enough to make them commit their full strength. When the Imperial Armada arrives, we'll spring the real trap. The nanite swarms, Hae-rin asked. Tai-min nodded. Captain Yuna released them during the battle. Self-replicating nanomachines invisible to all known scanners. They're spreading through the disabled Valorian ships right now. Learning their systems, adapting, preparing. When the Armada arrives and tries to recover these vessels, the nanites will spread to them too. General Dong-hyun pulled up a tactical display. It will take the Valorians about 17 days to gather their Armada and travel here through their FTL corridors. That gives us 17 days to prepare the final phase. Hae-rin looked at the faces of her advisors. They looked tired but determined. Then let's use those 17 days well. Admiral Jinwoo, pull our ships back to defensive positions. Make it look like we're preparing for a siege. Let them think they can surround us and wear us down. Yes, Madam President, Jinwoo responded over the communication link. Across the galaxy, the news spread like wildfire. Earth, a species no one had ever heard of, had destroyed 600 Valorian ships in under an hour. The galactic community was in shock. How had a primitive world done this? Experts analyzed the battle footage frame by frame. They saw the quantum weapons fire. They saw the EMP cascade. They saw the boarding drones work with impossible coordination. Slowly, they began to understand. Earth was not primitive at all. Earth had been hiding its true power. Some species sent secret messages to Earth offering alliances. Others pulled their ships away from Valorian space, not wanting to be caught in the coming war. A few began to wonder, if Earth could defeat the Valorians, what else could they do? Back on the Valorian homeworld, Empress Kalena received Thelos's message. She read it 3 times, not believing what she saw. 600 ships lost. To one primitive planet. It was impossible. It had to be a lie, but the sensor logs didn't lie. The recordings from neighboring systems didn't lie. Earth had done the impossible. Kalena's pride burned like fire. No one defeated the Valorian Empire, no one. She would personally lead the Imperial Armada to Earth. She would destroy that world so completely that nothing would remain but dust. She began gathering her forces. 8,000 ships. The best warriors. The most advanced weapons. The full might of an empire that had stood for 4,000 years. It would take 17 days to prepare. 17 days to reach Earth. Then she would show these humans what true power looked like. She had no idea that Earth was counting on exactly that. Empress Kalena stood on the bridge of her personal flagship, the Eternal Dominion. Behind her stretched the Imperial Armada, 8,000 warships representing the full military might of the Valorian Empire. These were not ordinary vessels. These were the elite, crewed by veterans who had conquered worlds. This was the force that no enemy had ever survived. All ships report ready, Your Majesty, her fleet commander said, bowing low. Kalena stared at the star charts showing Earth's location. Such a small, insignificant world, yet it had destroyed 600 of her ships and humiliated her empire in front of the entire galaxy. That could not stand. Set course for Earth, she commanded. Maximum speed. I want to arrive before they have time to prepare more of their tricks. The Armada entered their FTL corridors. The journey would take 17 days. 17 days that Earth would use very differently than Kalena expected. On Earth, Dr. Taimin worked without sleep. His nanite swarms had been spreading through the captured Valorian ships, learning everything about their technology. Now those nanites were reproducing, creating more of themselves using materials from the disabled vessels. The nanites have infiltrated 412 ships, he reported to President Hyren. They're dormant right now, invisible to all scanners. When the Imperial Armada arrives and tries to recover these ships, the nanites will transfer to the new vessels. Within hours, we'll have access to their entire fleet systems. Commander Sang-ho, head of Earth's Cyber Warfare Division, added his report. We've cracked the Valorian command protocols using data from Agent Bora. I can infiltrate their networks the moment they enter the solar system. They won't even know we're in their computers until it's too late. Dr. Yoonji, a xenobiologist who looked too young to be leading a department, presented her findings. I've analyzed the Valorian ship designs from the captured vessels. They've conquered so many species that their fleet is a patchwork of different technologies. Nothing works together perfectly. Each ship class has unique vulnerabilities based on which conquered species designed it. I've identified weak points in all 47 ship types in their armada. President Hayrin listened to each report carefully. What about the remnants? Have they provided any additional support? Yes, Dr. Taimin said. They've given us access to tactical data from 3 million years of galactic warfare. We've been running simulations constantly. We know exactly how the Valorians will attack and exactly how to counter it. Admiral Jinwoo joined the meeting remotely from his flagship. My fleet is ready. We've been practicing the new formation for the past 2 weeks. The Valorians will expect us to defend Earth directly. Instead, we'll draw them into a kill zone near Jupiter. The planet's gravity and magnetic field will interfere with their sensors, while giving us clear firing solutions. Pilot Jiwan, commander of Earth's experimental fighter wings, grinned from her seat in the meeting room. She was young and fierce, known for her aggressive flying style. My squadrons are ready. We've been testing the new fighters with the quantum drives. We can fly circles around anything the Valorians have. General Dong-hyun stood at attention. Ground forces are prepared for the final phase. Once we've disabled their military, we'll need to secure 400 Valorian systems to prevent any counterattack. I have teams ready to deploy using captured FTL drives. Everything was ready. Earth had spent 17 days turning its small army into a precision weapon designed to destroy an empire. Now they just had to wait. The Imperial Armada arrived on schedule. 8,000 ships emerged from FTL space at the edge of Earth's solar system. They were organized in perfect battle formations, their weapons already charged and ready. Empress Kalena looked at the tactical display. Earth's small fleet had pulled back to orbit around Jupiter. They looked like they were hiding. Pathetic, she said. They run from our might. All ships advance, surround their fleet. Cut off all escape routes, then destroy them slowly. I want them to suffer. The Armada moved forward, confident and powerful. As they passed the location of the disabled ships from the first battle, Kalena ordered recovery teams to begin salvage operations. Those 400 ships could be repaired and used. That was her first mistake. The moment Valorian engineers boarded the disabled ships, the nanites activated. They were smaller than bacteria, invisible to the eye, and they moved with purpose. They climbed onto the engineers' suits. They transferred to the recovery vessels. And from there they spread throughout the fleet like a silent plague. Dr. Taemin watched the nanites spread on his monitors. Infection rate at 40% and rising. 60%. 80%. Full penetration achieved. We now have access to the entire Valorian fleet's computer systems. Commander Sang-ho smiled as his fingers flew across holographic keyboards, planting control protocols now. They won't notice anything wrong until we activate them. The Valorian Armada continued its advance, completely unaware that they had already lost the battle. Admiral Jin Woo watched them come. All ships prepare to engage. Launch all fighters. Activate quantum weapons. Let's show them what Earth's small army can really do. The battle began. Earth's 47 ships suddenly released thousands of fighters from quantum storage bays. These weren't the primitive craft the Valorians expected. These were advanced fighters with quantum drives that let them move in ways that defied physics. Pilot Ji-won led the first wing personally, her fighter dancing through space like a metal butterfly. The Valorian fleet opened fire, but their weapons couldn't track Earth's ships properly. The fighters were too fast, too agile, and then Earth's ships fired back with quantum weapons. Just like before, the shots seemed to miss, flying off into empty space. Just like before, they appeared inside Valorian ships, destroying them from within. But this time, Commander Sang-ho activated his cyber weapons at the same moment. The nanites that had infected the Valorian fleet suddenly came to life. Ships found their weapons turning toward friendly vessels. Navigation systems locked up or sent ships in wrong directions. Communication broke down. Shields failed at critical moments. The perfect Valorian formation collapsed into chaos. Empress Kalena screamed orders, but her own ship was infected too. Half her systems weren't responding. Reports flooded in from every part of the fleet. Ships were firing on each other. Engines were failing. It was madness. What's happening? She shouted. How are they doing this? No one had an answer. The humans had somehow infected their entire fleet with something invisible, something that turned their own technology against them. Dr. Yoonji's research now proved its worth. Earth's weapons didn't fire randomly. Each shot targeted the specific weak points she had identified. Ships designed by the conquered Kraloth species had vulnerable power junctions. Ships built by the enslaved Torvin had weak points in their shield generators. Every ship type in the Valorian fleet had been studied, analyzed, and a perfect killing strategy had been developed. Admiral Jinwoo didn't fight a battle. He conducted an execution. His ships moved with perfect coordination, each one covering the others, each shot carefully calculated. There was no wasted ammunition, no unnecessary risk, just cold, efficient destruction. Pilot Ji-won's fighters swarmed through the enemy fleet like angry insects. They targeted command ships, communication arrays, and flagship escorts. Anywhere the Valorians tried to organize, Earth's fighters disrupted them. 6 hours into the battle, Empress Kalena realized the truth. She was going to lose. The mighty Valorian Empire was going to be defeated by one small planet. It was impossible, but it was happening. All ships retreat, she ordered. Fall back. Abandon the... Her flagship shuddered as 3 quantum shots materialized inside its reactor core. The Eternal Dominion went dark. Kalena felt herself floating as artificial gravity failed. Emergency lights flickered on, casting red shadows through the command center. General Donghyun's boarding drones swarmed the disabled flagship. Within minutes they had breached the hull and secured the command center. Empress Kalena found herself surrounded by machines controlled by human minds from millions of kilometers away. Empress Kalena, a voice spoke through the drone's speakers. It was President Hayrin. You are under arrest. Your fleet is defeated. Your empire is finished. Surrender now and your people will be treated with mercy. Kalena looked around at the ruins of her command center. She had ruled for 200 years. She had conquered 89 species. She had never known defeat. Until now, I surrender, she whispered. The battle ended. Of 8,000 ships in the Imperial Armada, none escaped. All were either destroyed or captured. The Valorian Empire's military strength had been eliminated in one day, but Earth didn't stop there. Begin Operation Reckoning, President Hayrin ordered. Using captured ships and reverse-engineered FTL drives, Earth launched its final strike. General Donghyun led a fleet of 200 vessels to Valorian space. They weren't going to conquer. They were going to disarm. Over the next 40 days, Earth forces systematically destroyed every Valorian military installation, shipyard, and weapons facility across 400 star systems. They didn't harm civilians. They didn't take territory. They simply removed the Valorian Empire's ability to wage war ever again. 3 months after the Valorians first arrived at Earth, President Hayrin stood on a stage on the Valorian homeworld. Behind her, the planet's 3 purple moons hung in the evening sky. Before her sat representatives from 120 different species, all gathered to hear what humanity had to say. The former Valorian palace had been converted into a meeting hall. Where Empress Kalena once sat on a throne of crystal, there was now a simple wooden podium. The change was intentional. Earth wanted to send a message about equality, not domination. Hayrin looked out at the crowd. She saw fear in many eyes. Good. Fear would prevent future wars, but she also needed to give them hope. 3 months ago, the Valorian Empire came to Earth demanding our surrender, she began. Her voice was calm but carried to every corner of the hall. They had 12,000 ships. We had 47. They had billions of soldiers. We had millions. By every measure, we should have lost. By every calculation, Earth should be a conquered world right now. She paused, letting the words sink in. But Earth is not conquered. The Valorian Empire is gone. Their military has been dismantled. Their weapons have been destroyed. And you are all here wondering the same thing. How did we do it? Dr. Taman stepped forward. He looked the same as always, a small man with glasses who seemed more comfortable in a laboratory than on a galactic stage. The answer is simple, he said. We prepared. 80 years ago, Earth made first contact with an ancient artificial intelligence called the Remnants. They warned us that the galaxy was filled with empires like the Valorians, species that conquered others, species that saw peace as weakness. He activated a holographic display showing Earth's history. The Remnants gave us knowledge. Information about technology, tactics, and strategies collected over millions of years. But they didn't give us weapons. They gave us the ability to build our own. Everything you saw in the battle, we created ourselves using their knowledge as a foundation. Admiral Jinwoo stood next, still wearing his military uniform covered in medals. Your species looked at Earth and saw a small army. You assumed small meant weak. That was your mistake. We trained every citizen. We built weapons designed specifically to counter larger forces. We developed tactics that turned enemy advantages into weaknesses. Our army was small by design, not by limitation. He pulled up tactical displays from the battle. You see, a large army sounds impressive. But large armies are slow. They require massive supply chains. They have communication delays. They make assumptions about power based on numbers. A small, highly trained force can move faster, strike harder, and adapt quicker. Quality beats quantity every single time if the quality is high enough. Dr. Yunji, the xenobiologist, presented next. We also studied our enemy. The Valorians conquered 89 species and incorporated their technology into their fleet. This created vulnerabilities. Each ship type had different weaknesses based on who originally designed it. We found every single weakness and exploited them all. Knowledge is a weapon. and we wielded it better than the Valorians wielded their guns. Captain Yuna appeared on screen from her ship in orbit. Stealth and deception played crucial roles. My ship spent weeks inside the Valorian blockade, invisible to all their sensors. We planted nanite weapons that spread through their fleet without them knowing. By the time the battle started, we had already won. The fighting was just confirmation. Agent Bora spoke next, her face scarred from weeks of dangerous infiltration work. Intelligence gathering gave us the keys to their kingdom. I walked among them, learned their protocols, and planted backdoors in their systems. When the cyber attack came, I was ready. Their own computers turned against them because we understood their technology better than they did. Commander Sang-ho demonstrated the cyber weapons on a simulation. The Valorians never secured their networks against sophisticated attacks because they had never faced one before. They assumed their technology was superior. Assumption is the death of security. We proved that. General Dong-hyun stood at attention as he spoke. Our boarding operations were flawless because every soldier was linked through neural networks to combat drones. One human mind could control 10 drones simultaneously. This force multiplication allowed us to capture hundreds of ships with minimal casualties. We fought smarter, not harder. Pilot Ji-won grinned as she showed footage of her fighter wings in action. And let's not forget speed and maneuverability. Our fighters could outfly anything the Valorians had because we didn't rely on conventional engines. Quantum drives let us move in ways that seem impossible. We were everywhere and nowhere, hitting them before they could react. President Haerin stepped forward again. You're hearing all of this and wondering, what does Earth want? Are we the new empire? Will we conquer you next? The hall went silent. This was the question on everyone's mind. No, Haerin said firmly. We don't want an empire. We want safety. The 89 species that the Valorians enslaved are now free. We're helping them rebuild, providing food, medicine, and technology. We're not occupying their worlds. We're not demanding tribute. We're helping them because it's the right thing to do. She gestured to the Valorian civilians in the audience. The Valorian people are not our enemies. Their military leadership made the choice to threaten Earth. The people just followed orders, so we've removed the military and left the civilians to govern themselves. They will rebuild their society without weapons of conquest. They will live in peace or they will face consequences. Dr. Tae-min added, We've shared defensive technology with vulnerable species. Not weapons of aggression, but shields and detection systems. We want every species to be able to defend themselves so empires like the Valorians can never rise again. Admiral Jinwoo's voice was stern as he delivered the warning. But understand this, Earth will not tolerate threats. We destroyed the Valorian Empire in weeks. We can do the same to anyone else who tries to harm us or our allies. We don't seek war, but we are very, very good at it. Choose peace. Choose cooperation. Choose to leave us alone. Those are your options, the message was clear. Earth was offering friendship, but promising destruction to enemies. Over the following months, the galaxy transformed. 23 species signed defense pacts with Earth. They called it the Terran Alliance. Together, they created mutual defense networks and early warning systems. No single empire would ever threaten them again. 12 former Valorian colonies voted to join the alliance directly. They had suffered under Valorian rule and wanted the protection that Earth offered. They got it along with aid and technology to rebuild. The other galactic powers watched carefully. The old empires that had ignored Earth before now sent ambassadors with respect. They proposed trade agreements. They offered cultural exchanges. They did everything they could to stay on Earth's good side. A year after the war, life on Earth returned to normal, but the planet was changed forever. People looked at the stars differently now. They knew they weren't alone. They knew the galaxy could be dangerous, but they also knew they could survive anything. Captain Yuna commanded Earth's first deep space exploration fleet. 20 ships equipped with captured FTL drives and the best stealth technology humanity could build. Their mission was to find other civilizations and warn them about potential threats before those threats arrived. We're explorers again, Yuna told her crew as they prepared to leave the solar system. But we're explorers who carry big sticks. We'll make friends. We'll share knowledge. But we'll also be ready to fight if we have to. Agent Bora took charge of a new intelligence division. Her job was to monitor the galaxy for emerging threats. If another empire started conquering its neighbors, Earth would know about it early. Early warning meant early action. Problems could be solved before they became wars. Dr. Taemin and Dr. Yunji worked together on the Phoenix Initiative. They traveled to vulnerable worlds, teaching them defensive technology and tactics. They shared Earth's philosophy. Be so strong that no one dares attack. Be so just that no one wants to. General Dong Hyun retired from active service, but became the head instructor at Earth's Strategic Command Academy. His first lesson to every new class was always the same. The Valorians mocked our small army, he told the young cadets. They assumed size meant strength. They forgot that discipline, training, technology, and tactics matter more than numbers. One well-trained soldier with the right tools is worth 100 poorly trained ones. Quality beats quantity. Intelligence beats strength. Preparation beats surprise. Remember that and you'll never lose a battle. Admiral Jinwoo also retired, spending his final years writing about military strategy. His book, The Small Army Doctrine, became required reading for every military academy in the Terran Alliance. In it he wrote, "An army's strength is not measured by how many soldiers it has, but by what each soldier can do. Earth had 2 million soldiers, but each one was worth 50 of any other species. That's not bragging. That's mathematics." The Valorian homeworld rebuilt slowly. A new generation grew up learning a different history. They learned about the Empire's crimes. They learned about the species their ancestors had conquered. They learned shame, but also hope. The Valorian blockade was complete. Their ships surrounded Earth's entire solar system like a cage. Nothing could get in or out without them knowing. Or so they thought. Captain Yuna floated silently in the command chair of her ship, the Silent Winter. Her vessel was special. It was Earth's most advanced stealth ship, completely invisible to every scanner the Valorians had. She had spent the last week drifting through their blockade, watching, learning, recording everything. "Captain, we're in position," her pilot whispered, even though no one could hear them, right in the middle of their formation. Yuna smiled. "Good. Begin passive monitoring. I want to know everything about these ships. Every weakness, every flaw, every system." While Yuna gathered intelligence, Agent Bora was playing a different game. She had infiltrated the Valorian fleet 2 weeks ago, disguised as a refugee from a conquered world. The Valorians barely noticed her. To them, she was just another slave doing maintenance work on their ships. But Bora was listening to everything. She hacked their computers. She planted tiny devices in their communication systems. She made friends with other slaves who told her secrets. Slowly, piece by piece, she learned how the Valorian military worked. On Earth, the preparations continued in secret. General Dong Hyun walked through a massive underground facility that most people didn't know existed. Thousands of combat drones lined the walls, each one connected to a neural interface system. "How many are ready?" he asked his chief engineer. "All 50,000, sir. Each drone is connected to our battle network. When the fight starts, our soldiers will control them through neural links. One human mind can command 10 drones simultaneously." Dong Hyun nodded. He was an old soldier who had fought in Earth's last major war 30 years ago. Back then, wars were fought with bullets and blood. Now they were fought with technology and tactics. But the goal was the same: protect Earth at any cost. Dr. Taemin worked in his laboratory, barely sleeping. His team was perfecting Earth's quantum weapons. These weapons were different from anything the Valorians had seen before. They didn't fire energy or missiles through space. Instead, they used quantum entanglement to make shots appear inside enemy ships, bypassing all shields and armor. "Run the simulation again," Taemin ordered. The computer showed a virtual Valorian ship. Taemin fired the quantum weapon. The shot seemed to miss, flying off into empty space. But then it reappeared inside the ship's reactor core. The virtual ship exploded. "Perfect," Taemin said. "The Valorians will think we're missing. They won't realize we're hitting exactly where we want." High above Earth, Admiral Jinwoo moved his fleet into position. To the Valorians, it looked like Earth was setting up a defensive line. They laughed at how predictable the humans were, but Jinwoo wasn't being defensive. Each ship was positioned at an exact point calculated by Earth's tactical computers. When the battle started, every ship would have a clear firing solution to multiple targets. The formation looked weak, but was actually a perfect trap. "Sir, the Valorians are mocking us on their public channels," his communication officer reported. "Let them mock," Jinwoo said calmly. "Pride comes before the fall." In the Valorian flagship, High Commander Thalos reviewed the intelligence reports on Earth. Everything confirmed what he already believed. The humans were weak. Their ships were slow. Their weapons were primitive. Their military was tiny. They have moved their entire fleet into orbit around their planet, one of his officers reported. Classic defensive formation. They plan to make us come to them. Thalos laughed. How predictable. They think their 47 ships can stop us. We could destroy them with just one battle group and have lunch. Afterward. What Thalos didn't know was that every piece of intelligence he received was exactly what Earth wanted him to. See, Dr. Tayman's cyber warfare team had infiltrated Valorian scanning systems months ago through a captured probe. They fed false data through every channel the aliens used. The Valorians saw Earth ships moving at slow speeds. The real speed was 3 times faster. They saw energy signatures suggesting primitive fusion reactors. The real power source was zero-point energy. They saw weapons that looked like simple railguns. The real weapons could tear through their ships like tissue paper. President Hyrian addressed the people of Earth from a secure bunker. She spoke calmly, her voice steady and strong. My fellow humans, the Valorians have given us 30 days to surrender. We will not surrender. Not today, not ever. What they don't know is that we have been preparing for this moment for 80 years. Every school, every factory, every home has been part of our defense plan. When the battle comes, stay calm. Follow the emergency protocols you learned in civic service. Trust in our military. And remember, we are not victims. We are survivors. And survivors fight. All across Earth, people prepared. They moved into underground shelters that could withstand orbital bombardment. They activated hidden defense systems built into every major city. Factory workers switched from making cars and computers to making ammunition and weapons. The transformation was remarkable. In just a few days, Earth went from looking like a peaceful planet to a fortress. But all of this happened underground or inside buildings where Valorian scanners couldn't see. Agent Bora sent her daily report to Earth through an encrypted quantum channel. Valorian morale is high. They're overconfident. Officers are already planning victory celebrations. Security is lax. When you give the signal, I can disable their command systems from inside. Captain Yuna reported similar findings. I've mapped their entire fleet formation, found multiple weak points. Their ships are powerful but not coordinated. Different conquered species built different parts, so nothing works together perfectly. We can exploit that. Dr. Tayman completed the final weapons test. All systems operational. Quantum weapons are ready. EMP cascade devices are ready. Nanoweapon swarms are ready. We can strike whenever you give the order, Admiral. General Dong Hyun finished preparing his boarding teams. All drones are operational and linked to our neural network. 50,000 drones, 5,000 human operators. Each operator can control 10 units. We can capture any disabled enemy ships quickly. Everything was ready. Earth's small army had become a precisely coordinated weapon. Every piece was in place. Every soldier knew their role. Every weapon was aimed and ready. The Valorians continued to wait and mock. On their communications, they made jokes about how long it would take to conquer Earth. Some bet it would take less than an hour. Others said 30 minutes. They were all wrong. Jinwoo stood on his bridge and looked at the countdown timer. 29 days had passed. Tomorrow was the deadline. Tomorrow the Valorians would attack. Tomorrow Earth would show them the truth. All ships, this is Admiral Jinwoo. Tomorrow we fight. Not for glory. Not for conquest. We fight for our families. For our planet. For our future. The enemy thinks we're weak because we're small. Let's show them that the size of an army doesn't matter. What matters is the quality of its soldiers. And humanity has the best soldiers in the galaxy. His words were transmitted to every ship, every bunker, every soldier on Earth and in orbit. People listened and felt their fear turn into determination. They were ready. In the Valorian fleet, High Commander Thalos gave his own speech. Tomorrow we crush Earth. We will make an example of them. Every species in the galaxy will see what happens to those who defy us. This will be our easiest victory yet. His officers cheered. They had no idea that tomorrow would not bring victory. Tomorrow would bring the end of everything they knew.